what's up YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video review. And for this review, we're going to be taking a look at Devil May Cry 5 for the PS4, also available on the Xbox One and PC, but for this review, we're going to be taking a look at the PS4 version. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage or me playing the game though, I'll have a link in the description of this video and you can check it out. Since 2001, the Devil May Cry series has sort of had its ups and downs, but it's been a series I've always enjoyed ever since I played the original Devil May Cry on the PS2, which I still hold with high regards, to be exact. The first one is a classic, no matter what, the style, the gameplay, and so forth. The sequel, however, Devil May Cry 2, let's just say I don't hate it as much as I used to back then, but there's no denying it's the weakest entry of the series, though. The gameplay was a complete, it felt like it was a departure from what the first one was, which was over-the-top action, fast-paced, and this one just didn't, people just were not feeling it with that one, though. 3 returned the series back towards how the first one was, and improved in some areas, though, although many complained about it being maybe a little bit too difficult, and to some degree kind of was. 4th and the DMC reboot, though, I look at those entries as they're good games. I think they're better than Devil May Cry 2, but not as good as the first or the third Devil May Cry game, especially the DMC reboot by Ninja Theory. I know some people like to hate on it though, but I personally didn't hate the game as much as some out there did. I'll admit that it's not as good as the first or the third Devil May Cry game, but I still enjoyed the game. That, and say what you will, it was also anti-Fox News, and I certainly am okay with that though. So it was it was a nice surprise to see back at E3 2018 during Microsoft's press conference when it was confirmed by Capcom that a brand new Devil May Cry game was in the works. And while it wasn't a sequel of the reboot one, which obviously they're letting that one go, and not going to be touching that one though. But a new entry of the Devil May Cry series though, a continuation, I think basically after the events of Devil May Cry 2 or other events as well. And honestly, that's certainly was a good thing. A lot of people were hyped up for it. They were looking forward to playing the game and so forth. So there were a lot of people that were excited for this game. And now that they finally came out, I will say that having played the game for about a couple of weeks though, I honestly have to say it does live up to a lot of the expectations. So why don't we get started with the pros and cons. We'll start off with the first one, the pros, and that is both the engine and the visuals though. For those who are not familiar, Devil May Cry 5 is powered by the RE engine, or the Resident Evil engine. This is the engine that has been used in games like the Resident Evil 7 and the Resident Evil 2 remake. And for a game that is, for engine being used on a non-Resident Evil game, it definitely shows a lot of promise. The visuals of the game is fun. The visual of the game looks good. The engine seems to be solid. There doesn't seem to be running into issues like, say, what we've heard about with the Frostbite engine that EA, for what I've heard, forced BioWare used for ASF and so forth. I mean, it runs well and so forth, and the game's visuals look nice. Character models do look like similar to that of the DMC game by Ninja Theories, but I'm not bothered by that though. But overall, the engine is definitely, looks like it was definitely makes Devil May Cry 5 run well, and that certainly is a good thing. The next thing I want to talk about is the gameplay, and just like with past entries, Devil May Cry 5 gameplay is solid. It follows that over-the-top action game that most fans may have enjoyed when the first Devil May Cry came out, and it still maintains that even with Devil May Cry 5. yes, each of the three characters play differently. Neo obviously has a bionic arm, which can be used for different things, and a sword. V basically has servants that basically attacks the enemies while he sort of takes a step back. And of course, Dante plays just like you remember him from Devil May Cry 1 and of course Devil May Cry 3. Mostly with the whole, you can switch between Trickster and Gunslinger as well. But either way, it still follows that over-the-top action, and that's definitely a good thing. And last but not least, I don't know if I would call this one a huge positive, but I will say that I definitely like Nico. I definitely enjoy her sort of wise guy attitude in the game. Especially one scene, a good example of this would be when basically she's asking Neo to pick up something, and Neo asks him, do you know where there's that bin though? And she says, and I certainly love the statement, she says, quote, up your butt. that was pretty funny though. I mean, I definitely think she's an interesting character. Plus I find it like that, what sounds like a southern accent that they have for that character. So I won't call this a huge pro, but I definitely like Nico, and I would love to see her maybe in future entries of the Devil May Cry series if they do a Devil May Cry 6, which honestly I think there's a good chance they probably will. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 2, which is the cons, and I really only have one con I could think of, and I want to talk about one of the situations regarding this, and that is, of course, the microtransactions in the game. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, we are back with part 2 of our video review of Devil May Cry for the PS4, also on Xbox One and PC/Steam. So now that I gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? And I really don't have a whole lot of cons for the game, except for maybe just one. I don't know if this is a huge one, it probably isn't, but it's basically based on my time with the game, playing with the character V. And I will say, I'm not really a fan of V's combat and so forth. Now, I don't hate the character or anything like that, nor do I hate, the song that's the background song for him or anything like that. I have nothing against the character. I just don't like his approach to combat compared to where Dante and Neo are. V's more of basically he just takes a step back and lets his servants do all the fighting. Basically, I think it's both. I think a lion, or I think it might be a panther and I think like some kind of bird that attacks different demons and other enemies as well. Which again, he's not unplayable. I just not really a big fan of his combat. I just prefer the approach based on how Dante and Neo are. They're like more up close, action style approach. Him just feels a little bit laid back. Now, some people may like that. Some people may enjoy V's combat, and that's fine. That's fine. If you enjoy that kind of combat, that's fine. I have nothing wrong playing this character or anything like that. I'm just not a huge fan of his combat style and all. And again, that's to one's preference and taste and everything like that. It's not like I won't replay levels with V. I'm not just really, like I said, I'm not being a dead horse saying this. I'm not really a fan of his combat style though. Overall, Devil May Cry 5 is definitely a fun game. It still maintains that over-the-top action gameplay that the series is known for outside of Devil May Cry 2. And it amazes me that this is, I think, the first game we've seen so far that runs on the Resident Evil engine that is not a Resident Evil game. And it does give me hope for the Resident Evil engine. We may be seeing that in future Capcom games. Maybe if rumors are about a possible Dino Crisis, maybe we'll see that run on the Resident Evil engine, or maybe other other games as well. But overall, my time with Devil May Cry 5 so far has been good. Do I think it will overtake Devil May Cry 1 or Devil May Cry 3? Not necessarily. I still hold those two games with high regards, and I still consider Devil May Cry 1, the first one, the best and my favorite though. But I would go as far as saying that Devil May Cry 5, in my opinion, is probably the third best entry in the Devil May Cry series though. It is a fun game. It is that fun over-the-top action, and if you're looking for something like that to play on the PS4 or Xbox One PC, I definitely would recommend Devil May Cry 5. That's for certain. Before I end this video, I do want to talk about one of the things that it was a controversy before the game came out, and it was also brought up recently when it was discovered that Resident Evil 2 Remake will have sort of like paid DLC where you can unlock everything. This is in Devil May Cry 5 as well, along with buying parts of like blue orbs to, put some health into the characters and so forth. Now, some people are kind of upset with this, and some people don't like this. Some people think it's the whole microtransaction, pay to win kind of situation, especially after what we saw with the Star Wars Battlefront 2 debacle. And while I understand some people's concern about it, though, I will say this. Based on my time with Devil May Cry 5, based on the time I've played the game so far, I haven't found myself in a situation where I had to spend money on spending money on my real money on buying blue orbs or anything like that. The only time I've ever spent anything is through the in-game currencies so far, though. So I've not found any indication that Devil May Cry 5 has turned into a complete pay to win or abusing the whole use of microtransactions and so forth. As far as the decision to pay money, I think it's like $10 or something to unlock everything. I'm kind of mixed on that one. I can understand people's arguments against it though, and I certainly don't disagree with that though, but at the same time, I feel that them charging, I think it's $10, I'm not 100% sure about that, $5 for Resident Evil 2 Remake to unlock everything. I'm not losing complete sleep over it, as it doesn't feel like it's forcing you to spend money or anything like that, but I can understand people's concern about the situation. So my takeaway as far as the use of microtransactions in this game so far, I would say is that it's not a pay-to-win kind of situation that I've ran into with it. So I would say I'll tolerate it. Doesn't mean I 100% agree with it, but I'll at least tolerate it though. And because so far I haven't found myself being forced to spend money on microtransactions, unlike what we saw the attempt made on Star Wars Battlefront 2 and that kind of debacle of a mess. Okay, this concludes this video review of Devil May Cry 5 for the PS4. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Devil May Cry 5? Are you pleased with the fact that the game runs on the Resident Evil engine? Are you happy with the engine so far? And would you like to see other Capcom games use this engine though? Have you been a fan of the series? Do you think Devil May Cry 5 is like... Do you agree with me it being the third best Devil May Cry game out there? Or do you think it's like the #1 Devil May Cry 5 game? Or do you think there are other Devil May Cry games that are better than Devil May Cry 5? Do you agree with me about V's combat? Are you a fan of his combat? Or are not really a big fan of his combat at all? And has the issue of the microtransactions in the game, has that turned you off from buying this game? Or has it not really become a real issue with you with Devil May Cry 5 at all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all a good evening then. Bye!